Well, good morning. We are so grateful you're here. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place because I'm looking right at you. So surely the presence is here. So welcome all of you who are online. We invite you to join us here as well at any point in your exploration of Unity Church of the Hills. And welcome to all of you who are in the sanctuary with us. If this is your first time attending here at Unity Church of the Hills, we're going to put you on the spot. You don't have anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone new here? No one new here. Okay. Well, that does not mean that we all don't deserve a blessing. So I invite us all into the blessing to everyone. We love you. We bless you. We welcome you. And we behold the Christ you are. And let's take that opportunity to behold the Christ of those around you. So if you're comfortable, turn around, stand up, give a hug, shake a hand, welcome, spread the love. Now we'll take an opportunity to settle in, and the handsome Reggie, so beautiful today. He's going to settle us into the beginning of the service.
I breathe in and turn my intention inward. In this moment, I am open to expanding my faith and exploring what is possible. I recognize that there is one power and one presence in this universe, God the Good. Knowing that our essence is of God and was expressed fully in Jesus the Christ reminds me that we are all inherently good, and knowing that sets my mind and heart free. God is love, and so am I. My kind words, welcoming smile, and compassionate actions all spring from the love that is part of our divine identity. As stewards of God's love and blessings, I share them lavishly without thought of reciprocity. In loving myself, I release my burdens and surrender my concerns in prayer. As I quiet my mind, my inner wisdom becomes clear, and I follow my inner guidance with confidence. I do what is mine to do, and I go forth with a quiet mind and happy heart. I am grateful that my walk with God makes my life carefree because I know that I'm never alone. The power of God protects us. So let us fill our hearts with love and gratitude and raise our spirits and in one voice proclaim, "Here I am, ready to allow the Christ within to do the work for the betterment of ourselves and each other." And so it is. Amen.
This is the segment for Voices of the Congregation. I'm Jean Lean, and I have the responsibility of the early service on Sundays, and it typically has been at 8 a.m. and in the chapel most recently. Now, before COVID, we had it over in Unity Oaks, and we had the chance to gather and have coffee and whatnot. And so it was really a nice little community gathering that we had. And we're looking at moving it back to Unity Oaks and also changing the time from 8 a.m., which may be a little early, to 8:30. So keep posted on that. I'd like to speak just a little bit about the service. It's a contemplative service. And so we spend, there's a talk, there's prayer, and there's a time for contemplation in the silence. And it's a quieter version of what goes on in here. And I like to also emphasize things that are more mystical. The mystical is that which is more intuitively felt, intuitively reasoned, rather than the reasoning that typically comes from the mind. It's coming at spiritual realities that actually show up for you, that you just have a knowing that you know. And also, I like to focus on more, you might say scientific, but the quantum realm, the energetic realm, that which is the foundation of all things in the beginning. And in line with that, we also cover embodiment a lot of times, because as spiritual beings, we're meant to fully inhabit our bodies with all of the energetic presence that we know to be that of the divine. So I would invite anyone who thinks that they might enjoy something like that to try us out. We're still at 8 a.m. now. Like I said, we're looking to move to 8:30. And currently we're in the chapel, but that also is subject to change. So thank you so much.
Good morning. We have a few announcements before we get started, but first, for the first announcement, we're going to start with a short video. If you'll watch the screen above me.
We are all born with openness for mystery.
What is this tiny blink of an eye that we call life?
To be alive in itself is just such a great gift.
You have been given a chance in the cosmic lottery. You got a ticket.
I'm grateful that I'm just here at all.
Ultimately, gratitude is a way of life.
And I think it inspired me to tell all these stories. It's people who've overcome adversity, yet have resilience and love in their life.
The journey is into oneself and into the meaning of being.
We are slowly coming to realize we are all human and getting more in touch with our kinship.
It's about how to become a better human being, a better human being.
I see gratitude as a route to a happy life.
See, there are things that I've yet to do, and there are mountains I want to move, but I am right here, right now, and it's beautiful. Live your life by the silver line. You got to let it be your guidance. You got to stay up mind.
Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you.
Looks like a great film. Please join us Friday, May 5th at 7 p.m. in Friendship Hall for an epic journey 40 years in the making. Gratitude Revealed from acclaimed filmmaker Louis Schwartzberg is the director of Fantastic Fungi, takes us on a transformational cinematic experience of how to live a more meaningful life full of gratitude. Yeah. The cost of admission is only a love offering. It'll be occurring immediately after the screening that night. Please join us for the Full Moon Labyrinth Walk at 8:30 p.m. Also, congratulations go out to Michael Ray and Linda Watts, who were married here in this sanctuary last night. Unfortunately, they chose not to be here. They'd rather be in Hawaii. I don't understand that. Although they are not here with us today, we never miss an opportunity to celebrate love, especially when it's between two very dear friends and members of our church family. Join Reverend Cynthia Vermillion Foster on May 7th at 1 p.m. in the Friendship Hall via Zoom after the service for an interactive workshop exploring the complex nature of selfhood, combining the transformative work of Betty Pyers and Unity's first two principles. This work moves out into our personal relationships, enhancing our capacity to be fully present, center in the inherent worth of each person, and be in authentic community with one another. Visit unityhills.org for further details. Join licensed Unity teacher Sandra Vela in the chapel beginning Wednesday, May 10th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. and recurring weekly. Cost is a love offering. This intimate meditation gathering can be the perfect introduction to the practice of meditation as taught by Unity, and is a great way to meet others for fellowship and support on your spiritual path. Registration is not required. Just arrive by 7:15 so as not to disturb the others. Doors will be closed once the group has begun their time in the silence. Okay, let's say the vision statement on the screen behind me. We put God first, of love and acceptance, where lives are transformed.
Thank you, inspiration. An inspiration. Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you. Well, good morning again, everyone. Thelene and I are spiritual directors.
We are.
Which sometimes people think is the person who runs a church or what have you, but spiritual direction is actually an ancient practice that has been going on for millennia, mostly found from the desert mothers and fathers, mystics, Franciscans, monasteries. It's been going on for ages, and it's essentially, put simply, companioning another using deep, 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 holy listening. The spiritual director empties themselves out so they can provide a deep, holy listening for a companion who is interested in spending some time with them, exploring what God is doing and saying in their lives. It's pretty simple that way. And today, we're going to be talking about some of those practices, right? Because it's difficult to really experience spiritual direction, particularly in a large group like this. It's a little bit like swimming. So it's difficult, or riding a bike. So it's pretty difficult to describe, but we can take you this morning into some of those experiences. And we title our talk, Turning Inward, because that's exactly where you go when you have these experiences in spiritual direction. So I'm going to invite you this morning to take a moment with me. And if you're like me, you probably want to take a minute and drop your shoulders from around your ears. Maybe relax your forehead. Take your tongue off the roof of your mouth. Put both feet on the floor and kind of settle in. Go ahead and close your eyes. And I'm going to offer something to you to get us started this morning. The day is a rudderless path and still like linked to star charts, to maps, as if knowing a destination is synonymous with purpose. If the wind should steal the maps, would I rush to make them anew? I say there is a beauty in the drift, yet I keep carving new oars. I am learning to love what a day is. Sometimes I trust what is here. All right, amen. So poetry is one of the ways we have of uniting that inner and outer world for ourselves, and the practice or reading or writing it on a daily basis for some of us enables us to sustain that experience through all the many thresholds of maturity in a human life. David White, a mystical guy that some of you may know, mentions this recently because it's National Poetry Month, so those of you who are poets might want to embrace that. So as we look at turning inward, and if we make a segue, right, from that cocooning, I know, Tammy and I were like, a butterfly metaphor again. It's like,
what's your idea?
But I'm going for it. I'm going for it, hon. We're doing another metaphor. Mostly because what I've noticed, at least, how about you, Thelene, that we're cocooning.
We are.
As a community, we're cocooning as a culture right now. What's next for us after a pandemic and all of those things? And it's all about that art of waiting, and one of the best places to explore that is in spiritual direction. So there's a book called When the Heart Waits by Sue Monk Kidd, and it is about waiting, about her experience of cocooning as she moved into midlife and her kids were off to college and all of that. So I'm going to use this quote that she mentions about cocooning from her book. The Greek word for soul is psyche, and it is often symbolized as a butterfly. Both the soul and the butterfly are metamorphosed. While it was tempting for me to think that the growth and emergence of my authentic self would happen with little time or effort on my part, this isn't so. The fullness of one's soul evolves slowly. We're asked to go within to gestate the newness God is trying to form. We're asked to collaborate with grace. That doesn't mean that grace isn't a gift, nor does it mean that the deliberate process of waiting produces grace. But waiting does provide the time and space necessary for grace to happen. Spirit needs a container to pour itself into. Grace needs an arena in which to incarnate. And waiting can be a place if we allow it. And that place is liminal. It's a liminal space, and we are, are you cozy with liminal spaces?
Am I comfortable with liminal spaces? No.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
of the time, not.
All right.
No,
but we're going to get there.
absolutely not.
Our invitation to you is to go ahead and get there. And Oxford defines liminal space as occupying a position at or on both sides of a boundary or threshold. So I was in the liminal space between past and present. I'm just thinking, one liminal space that I'm really comfortable with. You love that part where you're like just about to go to sleep? Or you're that's liminal. Okay, that's a liminal space. What is it for you?
Are you trying to put me to sleep? Well,
Hey.
I don't usually talk very well sitting down, but I decided that standing up the whole time wasn't going to work for me. So we're talking, but I must stand up. So what I want to talk about is another metaphor for liminal space. And to me, liminal space is like traveling through a fog. It's like I know I'm going somewhere, but I'm traveling through this fog in my life, right? Something's changed, and I'm not really sure what my footing is. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I'm not totally sure where I've been, and I don't know where the next turn is. You know when you're driving in your car in a fog? You've been there, right? And you're driving, and you know you've got a turn coming. And it's sort of thick, and you're driving slower than normal, and these people are past you, and you're going, stop it. You're making me nervous. This is that uncomfortable place, right? Where you're not sure. And you're looking at every sign as you go by, going, is this the place I'm supposed to turn? Well, what my belief is about liminal spaces in our lives is that sometimes I just walk into a fog. And I go, okay, here I am. I've got a life. I have to keep living. I have to wash the dishes, do the laundry, get up every day and go to work. But I don't know what any of that means. And so I just keep watching. And what I've learned is that the more time I spend inside, in me, in contemplative practices, the more available I am to the messages that tell me which way to go next. And so, to me, that's what liminal space is about. And then sometimes there are those times when life just turns you in a different direction, right? And you go, oh, how did I get here? And where do I go now? And I have to tell you, my life has been full of those times where I kept trying to force the next turn. Oh, I want to go this way. But does that usually work for you guys? It didn't ever for me. I have to just sit back and wait and see, because if I force it, then I get to learn another interesting lesson that I probably didn't want to learn in the first place. Thank you very much. But if I just sit back and listen inside, I get way better answers. Or sometimes what I want to do, and I know this has been a few people's experience here in this church, is I want to turn around and go back where I was. Thank you. Thanks for this new turn, this adventure. It was really fun, but I want to go back where I was. I like that better. Those are those liminal space times. That's my definition of liminal space.
I look at it, I look at it more like a trapeze. But so for let's just say recently for me. So I graduated from, yes, I'm proud of it. I graduated seminary 11 months ago. And and I remember someone asking me, this is what younger people ask you, so what are you going to do next? And I said, I'm going to catch up on Netflix series. I'm gonna tend to my garden. I'm gonna rearrange all my aquariums. They're tiny. They're not big, so that doesn't take a lot of work. But and sit. This was the important thing that I noticed that was important for me to do alongside my spiritual director, and marinate in what goes on next before I made some sort of important decision, like I was 30 years old again, and I was moving into some sort of career. I wanted to kind of sit back and see where Spirit was going to lead me. And that was 11 months ago. Still not sure. still not exactly sure. I have some goals. Tammy and I have some big audacious financial goals. We have a goal to catch up on Mrs. Maisel this week because we don't have anything else to do, finally, all week long, maybe. We have those sorts of goals. But that liminal space that space for me has been comfortable. I mean, that's been comfortable. I don't have a lot to do, and that's okay. So liminal spaces are not always uncozy, of course. But when we're looking at it like the metaphor I use with the trapeze, where we are really in that state of perhaps fear, and if you're afraid of heights, this metaphor is not exactly very handy-dandy, of being in between the bars on that trapeze. You've let go of one thing, and you've not yet caught a hold of the other bar, and it's what Ellen Davenport calls hell in the hallway in her book, if you're familiar with that. But we may have some in the bookstore. I didn't say I was going to mention it, so I don't know if we have any. But that's what that's like. But it's not static. It's never static to sit in waiting. That opportunity, my word, I know Rick said, don't tell anybody what your word is for the year. So don't have Rick watch this message later. But in meditation, my word I got this year was quiet. Nice. Quiet. Which is really weird for me, but in fact, I wasn't sure if what God was telling me was to be quiet so I could get the word, or if the word was quiet. So I just took the word. I took the word. And it's in that quiet, in that waiting. Again, Sue Monk Kidd tells us the life of Spirit is never static. The life of Spirit is never static. We're born on one level only to find some new struggle toward wholeness gestating within. That's the sacred intent of life, of God, to move us continuously toward growth and toward recovering all that is lost and orphaned within us and restoring the divine image imprinted on our soul. And rarely do significant shifts come without a sense of our being lost in dark woods, or in what T.S. Eliot called the vacant interstellar spaces. There is a self within each of us aching to be born, said theologian Alan Jones. And when this aching breaks into our lives, whether through a midlife struggle or some other crisis, we must somehow find the courage to say yes. Yes to this more real, more Christ-like self struggling to be born in that cocoon. What has happened to our idea to dwell in unknowing, to live inside a question and coexist with the tensions of uncertainty? Where is our willingness to incubate pain and let it birth something new? What has happened to patient unfolding into endurance? These things are what form the ground of waiting. And if you look carefully, you'll see they're also the seedbed of creativity and growth. that creativity and growth that allows us to do the daring and break through to the newness. Thomas Merton said, the imagination should be allowed a certain amount of time to browse around. Creativity flourishes not in certainty, but in questions. And again, we return back to that idea of what spiritual direction is. That's that practice of being with another person who supports you in seeing those movements and sitting with you in those spaces so you're not so alone. It's that practice of turning within to explore what God's doing and saying, not just during the action in life, but during the moments of uncertainty and waiting.
Yeah, waiting is a sometimes hard thing for me, and I know that you guys have probably heard this before, but one of the things that somewhere along the way I quit doing is praying for patience. Because what I got was that every time I prayed for patience, I got an opportunity to practice. And so one of the things I know about liminal space for me is especially if I'm in that liminal space of creativity, but it hasn't manifested yet. It hasn't even come to fruition. There's that part of me on that journey that knows that I'm going someplace and I can feel it. It's like I know something's coming. And I just know, right? So I want to tell you a story. One of the books that we read in the spiritual direction program that I'm going to graduate from in June is, thank you. I'm really excited about that. We read a book called Hope Will Find You. And I encourage you to just get a copy of it anytime you can. It's a lovely little book. I bought it on Kindle. It's 54 or 55 chapters that are like three pages each. And each little chapter is like filled with inspiration. It's just amazing. But it's about about a woman. She's a young woman rabbi. And she has a family, and she's going along with her career that was a dream from the time she was like 6 or something like that. And she's going forward with her dream, and she suddenly finds out that her child has a debilitating condition that may actually be progressive and eventually kill her. And her whole world stops. And those of you who are moms can imagine what that's like. It's like she just shut down and turned everything in her life to her child. And, was experiencing fear. And this little book is like her story of getting her life back and still taking care of her child. It's like that learning to move from I'm an independent adult woman with a family to I'm a mom still looking for my dreams while I take care of my disabled child. And so it's a really sweet, sweet story. And she had gone along for years, I think. I can't remember exactly during what age her child was at this time. But she had given up her career. She was basically spending most of her time in waiting rooms in doctor's offices. She learned tons from all of that. But she was with a friend who looked at her and said, "Do you miss it?" And that was one of those messages from God that came to her that put her a step back on her path. That's those things that come to us in the silence, but in the real world, because we've opened to them in our lives. And from that, she shared that, well, no, I don't miss all of it, but there are things I miss. And what she missed most was praying with people on Friday night as the sun set for the Sabbath. And that it was magic, and she got to spread the magic. And in that, she got that little piece of inspiration that took her. She had been driving past this church, just regular church, that was open to Jewish people having services in it or something, and she decided to stop and talk to the minister and set up a thing, and actually started doing Sabbath services. And they created a group where she could share and rekindle part of her dream. And so it was really wonderful. And that was early in the book, actually. That was somewhere middle of the way through. And one of the things she said was, I unlocked doors I never knew would open. So just consider the doors that you wondered might not ever open. Later on in the book, her daughter was old enough to begin her studies for her bar mitzvah. And I know I don't pronounce that right, but oh well.
Is it a bat mitzvah for a girl?
Yeah, for girls. And Noah is her daughter's name, and the woman that wrote the book's name is Naomi Levi. And Noah was ready to start studying, but Naomi was scared to start teaching her because of her disabilities, and she has some disabilities with reading and different things like that, and Mom was nervous about it. And here are Noah's words. If you don't feel happy, just wait, because you're going to be very happy soon. Just wait, because your life is going to be bigger and more filled with joy. Someone will always be with you, even though the world may change and so many things may happen. You will always have God with you no matter what. Maybe God is telling us that if you don't like your life, if you'll really try to enjoy life, you'll find hope. No, hope will find you. Sometimes I feel sad and start crying for no reason. I think God is saying that someday I will find a way to be happy again. I just feel when I look at people who don't have disabilities, who are really put together, I feel sad that I'm not that person. But then I realize that I'm special in my own way. No one else can compare to me. I have a life that no one else can ever have because I'm my own person and I live my own life. After hearing that, Naomi's friend Toba said, Noah's more capable than you know. Start teaching her and you'll see. The bald angel said, she's something special. Noah said, hope will find you. I gasped. These are Naomi's words. I gasped when Noah said, hope will find you. I'd been trying to hold on to hope for so long, to grasp at every little sign of improvement, of good news, like it was the happy ending of this long wait. Anybody ever felt that way? I'd spent so much time searching for hope, but my child was telling me I didn't need to push so hard or hang on so desperately. Noah was telling me to relax and let hope in, like a kind of grace. Hope will find you. And I'm going to take a minute here because at the end of the book, after the bat mitzvah, and she did it all, Noah did it all perfectly on her own and gave this beautiful talk about how we have to accept people for who they are. Naomi talked about what she had learned through this liminal space of 7 to 8 years, something like that. She says, I've learned about fear and faith and love and perseverance and luck and friendship and family. I've learned about falling and rising and shining. I've dreamed of a heaven and found it here in luminous, ordinary days. Yes, the moon is in the ocean. Yes, I've learned many lessons from the waiting room that you can find grace in the wilderness. I've learned about God and angels and prophets and patience. I've learned that this very day is the only day I've got, perfect or not. It belongs to me, and my real life isn't somewhere off in the future. It's right here with the chickens and the goats. I've learned that a good push is a great thing, and that when you do just one thing, many surprising things can start. I've learned about laughter and courage and dreaming, and I've learned about stillness. She goes on and tells many more things that she learned. But she learned about stillness. And that's one of the things that we're going to do some practicing of later today.
Hope will find you. So I'm going to invite you to enter into something that we spiritual directors actually are here to hold you accountable for. And that is your own practices. The practices that we said. What did you say the other day? That Unity people actually, we talk about being in the silence, but we can do it for about 90 seconds. I mean, statistically, that's about what we can do. And I'm going to invite you to do that, to allow you to settle in on what has resonated for you or marinated for you, to consider how hope has found you or will find you, where you are in this liminal space right now. We'll do that for a minute before we move on. And when you're ready, come on back to the room. One of the practices that I want to include today in terms of, and Thelene will go into more of these, but I wanted to include this particular practice today because first it resonated with me, second it's Charles Fillmore, and third we're in a Unity church. So I do want to share with you, and I hadn't seen this until I'd done a little research on Charles Fillmore's 7 necessary conditions for true prayer. I may be giving myself away. Everybody else in the room may have seen these.
I had never seen them before you shared them with me.
So first, when you go into the silence, have a look at it like this. Number 1, God is recognized as Father Creator. Don't worry about that. God is recognized as Creator. Number 2, oneness with God is acknowledged. Number 3, what we're talking about today, prayer must be made within in the secret place. Number 4, the door must be closed on all thoughts and interests of the outer world. Number 5, the one who prays must believe that he or she has received. Number 6, the kingdom of God must be desired above all things and sought first. I wonder if that one should be number 1. And number 7, the mind must let go of every unforgiving thought.
Aren't those awesome? Aren't those awesome? I just love that. I'm sure I've heard them before, but because they sound so familiar, but I don't remember that I heard them in those ways. So one of the things we want to talk about is practices. And so how many of you guys meditate on a regular basis? Yay, good for you. Awesome. So that's a great practice. Prayer, I'm a prayer chaplain here at the church. Prayer is a great contemplative practice. A lot of these are practices that we teach and we use and we invite people into in spiritual direction. Some of the others that you may not think are contemplative practices are walks in nature, art, singing, laughter. In fact, I had a teacher once that said, laughter is a sign that God is present. In fact, we did a thing in our class about laughter yoga. It was great fun. There are all kinds of breath work that you can do. Just call out if you have something that hasn't been mentioned. Yoga, journaling,
Dance. Yes, gardening.
gardening. Okay, that's not one of mine. Thank you very much.
That's pretty
Let's just
holy,
work it.
yeah.
Running, yes. Music, any kind of music. Swimming, wow. I had never thought of that one. That's great.
Yep.
Exactly. Anything you do mindfully. I have a friend who does these little color bead art things, and that's her contemplative practice. There are just all kinds of things. Anything that takes you into that place where you commune with God inside of yourself, where you're aware. Those are contemplative practices. And so, we're going to bring our little talk to a close here. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some affirmations, because affirmations are also a great practice.
Who does affirmations and denials as a spiritual practice? There you go.
Yay.
Exactly.
Yay. Awesome.
Yeah, we're going a little old school today, doing some affirmations. We got the eye on the sparrow, that classic music, and some classic affirmations here. So we'll say them first. You say them after us. Okay. This is one of my favorites. Can't wait.
I know. That's why I'm sitting here letting you do it. Go ahead.
I am more resilient than I realize. I am more resilient than I realize.
And this is my favorite. Guided intuitively, I trust my inner wisdom that all is well.
Guided intuitively, I trust my inner wisdom that all is well. And finally, centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. And finally, I invite you to settle in one more time and have a listen to everybody's secular / religious poet, Mary Oliver. Today I'm flying low and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all of the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must, the bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. Amen.
beautiful. That was Carl's song. Isn't it beautiful? Amazing the talent we have here, huh? So, I am going to do a meditation process that I learned in my spiritual direction program. And it has come to be the favorite of our cohort. And everybody talks about, if anybody asks, what practice would you give in this thing? Somebody always says, the welcoming prayer. And the welcoming prayer to me is a meditation process. And I'm going to do it exactly as it's written. And I'll let you know that there are words like security, survival, esteem, power, control, desire to change situations. All of those words are in there. So if you have issues with talking about letting go of those things, just let go of whatever it is you need to let go of, okay? All right. So first we're going to just get still. And I'm going to encourage you to just take a breath, drop your shoulders, let them go back. Sit up straight with your feet on the floor and breathe. Allow yourself to become immersed in your feelings, whatever those are. Just let yourself experience it. It could be joy, bliss, adoration, peace, frustration, anger, sadness. Any of those feelings are just fine. Whatever's present with you, be present with it. Connect into your physical experience of those feelings. Connect in to the mental experience of what's present. What thoughts come forward? Connect into the emotion. And just allow that to be okay. Welcome the feelings. And then acknowledge God's presence in this one moment. Invite Spirit in to the present, into what's present for you right now. And let all of that be okay. And as you know you're with Spirit and with God, allow yourself to be willing to let go. To let go of desire for security and survival. Let go of your desire for esteem and affection. Let go of your desire for power and control. Let go of your desire to change any situation. Just see those letting go. Let it all go. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes whenever you're ready and know that you're free. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Thelene. I asked my lovely wife yesterday when I found out I was going to be doing a little offering notice. I said, what would you have me say? And she said, I would remind them that God is the most abundant thing there is. And I said, okay, so how do we tap that? And I think there are three ways. One, by giving away what God has given us, we open up to that abundance again. We, in effect, join the consciousness, don't we? Two, when we give things away, we open up space in us to receive more. If we're so full, then we can't receive. And so giving away makes us, put us in a position to receive. And then three, and maybe just as important, giving things away, giving us away, connects us to the vitality of the movement. It's the action of it all. We join the game. And I think those are all good lessons. So don't look at this offering as a chance to give to the church. Look at this offering as a chance to give to yourself. And in that spiritual giving, you'll do just that. Are the ushers coming down? Yes, they are. Thank you, ushers. I had the honor of someone came up to me about 5 minutes ago and said, hey, make sure this gets in the offering plate. So today, 2 offerings from the stage. Thank you, Jody. And we now have a little saying back here. Here's some other ways to give if you like. Online, use an app, do the PayPal, mail a check. I bring checks. I'm old school that way. All of those work. And then here's our saying that we're going to say. What's our affirmation? There it is. Ready? 1. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful. Thank you. Ushers, thank you for your service. And Carl, thank you for you.
It's sung often in temple. It is from Psalm 133, translated, how good it is for us to live together as one.
Hine matovu manayim, shevedahim gam yahad.
Hine matovu manayim, shevedachim gam yahad. Hine matov, shevedachoyot gam yahad. Hine matov, shevedachayot gam yahad.
Sheved
All right, we're going to bless these offerings. Oh, sweet, sweet Spirit, thank you. Thank you for the generosity and the abundance of each person here. We just pour out our hearts to these blessings, these gifts, that they may go forth wherever they go in service to Spirit, and that in this moment they are blessed, we are blessed, and we are blessing. And so it is. Amen.
Our wonderful prayer chaplains are always available to pray with you, and you can join them on one-on-one prayer following service in the chapel. Online congregates are encouraged to call Silent Unity at 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Silent Unity has been praying nonstop for over 120 years. Join presenters Joni Lorraine, Thelene Scarborough, and Robert Brumet today from 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Legacy Suite. Cost is a love offering. And lunch is provided. Yes, thank you, Thelene. In this workshop, you will experience the practice of spiritual direction, or spiritual companioning, as many call it, and discover how shared sacred stories with a spiritual companion or director can call us to a higher consciousness that supports our own flourishing. To avoid scheduling contacts, the Rainbow Group is postponing their monthly luncheon, which is normally the fourth Sunday, to next Sunday, April 30th. If you were unable to attend the ministry update and discussion meeting this past Sunday, please visit unityhills.org to view the meeting and access the survey. We invite you to participate in the future of UCOH by sharing your ideas and input. Join longtime masterminds Cliff and Lou Goodwin-Mark every second and fourth Sunday of the month for a How to Mastermind session to learn more about this powerful practice. The basis of the mastermind principle developed by Jack Boland and Renaissance Unity is the combined energy of two or more people in order to tap into the creative genius, wisdom, and power of the source that created and directs our universe and lives. Join them today in room 129 following the service. If you celebrated a birthday in April, please stand or raise your hand so we can acknowledge you on your special day. Ready? Okay, join. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, everyone. To some degree, we've all entertained false messages of unworthiness that hold us back from accepting and experiencing God's boundless and unconditional love for us. These thoughts might be persistent, but that does not make them true. We'll take an inventory of these insane messages and then pivot to eternal truths that effectively disarm these untruths that we are ready to release. We'll review affirmative messages of our inherent worthiness as God's perfect creation. Join Neil Fareisel as he looks at a collection of effective tools to shift the false narrative that seems to be rattling around in our head and replace it with a confident knowing that comes from a place of peace. You won't want to miss next Sunday's informative talk. Thank you.
Make us one.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a wonderful week. Join us for the workshop.